Hello, everyone. I'm Daniel. Above me, again, is Justin from Playing Board Games. And yesterday, since we're recording this on a Monday, we played an Ironman with Carcosa, and it was a time. It was an awesome time. It was really fun. We had, what'd you say, almost 550 unique viewers on Twitch throughout the day.
Yeah. And then we averaged around like 85, 90, which was pretty cool.
And that's great. And we played for how long?
The video was 6 hours of gameplay, minus the 10-ish minutes I forgot to cover in Echoes of the Past,
Oops.
but also plus the 10-ish minutes from the break that we took. But the stream itself was 7 hours and 23 minutes from the start of the clock to the end of the clock. So it was a big day. It was about an hour longer than the Dunwich one, which we kind of both predicted, and it turned out to be the case that's what went down with this
hmm
one.
And I think part of that was that there's a lot of short scenarios in Dunwich. Although I
Yep.
think we slowed down quite a bit in a few of those. We had a few longer scenarios that were quite complex, and I'm thinking
Mhm.
especially about was it Undimensioned and Unseen, where we were trying to figure out if we could even do
Yep.
anything. And then
Yep.
the last one was tough too. And this one, there were a couple of shorter scenarios too, but um not necessarily like the way that Dunwich has short scenarios that are just over in a blink of an eye.
Hmm.
This one we tried to just speed through a bit. So we did well. We won. We did get a positive resolution at the end. We did not get locked in the asylum.
Yep.
So overall, anything that we were potentially worried about did not come to fruition. We made it through.
Yeah. It was very interesting because I think our tech worked very well for that.
hmm
Um, we made. I mean, we should probably just go through the scenarios. I think that could be a good way to start this off.
Uh,
Before, let's just do like a summary.
let's just talk maybe quickly about the decks, just to remind viewers, since I haven't said anything about who we played. You played a Zoe with a super runic axe. We can talk about the cards more in detail later, but I think that informs how the scenarios went. And
Yes.
then I played a Alessandra with I don't know, just a bunch of parlay stuff.
Mhm.
I'm not sure there's many other versions of Alessandra out there, but in terms of the card choices, we can talk about that later. But
Mhm.
get clues, deal with enemies in some fashion, use resources for various things. So yeah,
Yeah.
let's talk about the. We'll come back to the decks, but the first
Yeah. So
scenario.
we kind of had a game plan where I was going to be the fighter, you were going to be the clover.
hmm
But then when you brought in Alessandra, I kind of altered my plans slightly.
Yeah, a little bit.
Uh, my big thing was runic axe. I just wanted to be like a no nonsense fighter, just like get the job done. And but with the change, we added in the elders on my
Hmm.
runic axe, which was not part of my original plan to do that, and it turned out to actually be very functional, along with saga, um to sorry, ancient power. I keep calling it saga because that's the one that I always get saga. That's like the important one, but
To replenish more.
uh it was a neat little thing where we had that, and it's gonna, I think, also dictate a lot of this thing that we're gonna be talking about for how things went between the scenarios. The first scenario, for the most part, went very smoothly for me as Zoe.
Okay, for you is
Um,
Zoe, yeah.
yeah, we got a little hiccup near the end where things started to get. I drew a few auto fails attacking the royal emissary,
hmm
and it started to kind of collapse at the end there. But you got bodied by the first scenario. You had some of the worst luck I've seen for the encounter deck in that scenario. It gave me a free ride, but you were really brought down by that.
It's a hard scenario, I think. You
Mhm.
can like smoothly sail through if things are going well, but there's a lot of roadblocks that scenario puts up on you, and especially if you know essentially how to play that scenario, you start maybe it's even second guessing yourselves. Like, do I trigger the end yet? And I drew all four of the hidden cards, and they were all kind of
Yeah,
bad. They were all bad
yeah.
for my plan. So I had to spend a lot of actions getting rid of them, and then I don't remember exactly what happened at the end where I just like couldn't do the investigate on the man in the pallid mask. I kept like failing by one or something.
Yes, yeah. It was like a few tests where you were just like, You're like, okay, I'm up 2, draw the -3. Okay, I'm up 3, draw the -4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That actually happened quite a bit later in the campaign too, where it's something
Yes.
to talk about with Alessandra in terms of how I got my stat boosts, but it was really, as you also remember, in that scenario, I had a fox mask and nothing else in play.
Yeah, you had no window to play anything, and it seemed like the game just was doing everything it could to stop you from like having fun.
Yeah, I couldn't even use my parlay. So like I think Alessandra shown quite a bit the rest of the campaign where there were enemies around and I could use the beguile. I could use basically the 4 actions per round to do a lot, and it's just not there at level 0 in this scenario where I think both of the beguiles I had in my hand got randomly
Yeah,
discarded
discarded. Yep.
on 2 twisted to his wills. So that was bad, and yeah, I couldn't do anything beyond taking basic tests. So
Yeah, and you also drew the like twisted to his wills at the worst time each time. It
yep,
was like 3 doom. It was like right after we did the reset after killing Big Bud Baby, and it was
that
like, well,
that's 4 doom then.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's just like, oh no, it's just yeah, it's just one of those things that's just like worst timing for that kind of stuff.
And I think I probably got hit by the dissonant voices at least once. So
Hmm.
it's a tough scenario, especially because you need to do a lot of movement. And the good thing was we did manage to get out, but I believe I had 6 and 6 on me because I thought it was just worth it to take a few nibbles from some rats.
Yeah.
This also scenario featured one of the few times I've evaded a rat, and the hunter actually
Yes.
mattered.
Yeah. Uh, yeah. Yeah. No, that was. I forgot about that. You evaded the rats there. Um, But I mean, with all this stress, we did get the full 8 VP, which was kind of cool. We were lucky we rolled both victory locations on both sides.
Mhm. Yeah, that part was
Um,
good.
we were able to finish in time for a big butt baby. Zoe's a very strong investigator for fighting. She's not like busted in what she can do, but she's very consistent in what she does. And I think that like I was able to pivot and I mean kill the big butt baby and then pivot to killing the man in the pallid mask as he
Yes,
stood at the exit, right?
because I had no way of doing that. That would have been a 6 test for me.
Yeah.
I think I ran through the intellect boost that I had earlier, the perceptions, and I don't know if
Mhm.
the fox mask was gonna get me there anyway. So, um, yeah, we needed you and the which thing did you have on it to begin with? Did you just have elders or did you have hunt
Just
already?
have elders, which I never used. But I had the two reliables
Hmm,
attached to it. So
that's
I
right.
was able to, and with the B cup, I was able to just attack at 8. So I could just do power and then power, right?
I mean, that's good enough.
Yep. Yeah, just basically a machete. A very expensive machete was what it was in the first scenario, but it got the job done.
Hmm. Okay, so that was the first one, and yeah, we were. I was feeling it a bit at the beginning. I was like, "Oh no, is this what we're in for today?"
Yeah.
But you're right. Having a very good fighter with a very good weapon that you did find
Hmm.
really well, and you didn't get bogged down by the devil tarot card either,
Hmm.
made it so the second scenario, Last King, went pretty smoothly too.
Yes, it went very smooth as well. I can't actually think of any roadblocks we had on that one. I think
The only
like
thing was that we drew a couple of the what was it, the is it's not fine dining, it's the other one, right?
oh yeah, the double action parlay, like to
Y-
make parlays one action more
right, which
at the wrong times, which
hmm,
stopped us from being able to interview everybody. But I think that that's like just like the easier part of the scenario. That if you have to pick up a few clues, it's okay.
mm-hmm,
Um, you want to try to interview as many as possible. We interviewed two,
two, yep.
Sebastian and Ashley, and we forgot about Ashley's bonus because it was a few hours later.
It
And you
would have
do quick
helped a little bit,
setups.
but
It
yeah.
would have. It would have taken some stress off. But you do quick setups in Ironman. You kind of just like throw it all together. Um, but I did kill all 5 of the party
Yep.
guests, and I think we really saw that was the first scenario where we saw Beguile start to show what it was capable of
Yep.
in your ability to lock down elite enemies, which I think was a really cool use of it.
Elite enemies that were not at my location, keeping them from hunting
Yep.
in a very cramped map. So that was nice.
Yeah. And I think that's what's super uh, important about Alessandra that I think a lot of people neglect. They look at just parlays and they think, oh, she's just talking to enemies. But with Beguile, she becomes an enemy manager. Like she can manage enemies, which is a very powerful thing to do.
Hmm.
And it's like different than what like the parlay build suggests.
Yeah, I think that's another thing to talk about as we go along. That my deck evolved a bit away from Beguile, but in the early scenarios, it was very good, and it was there. It was an important part towards the end as well. But I think as you start to put more juice into the other kinds of payoff for parlays, Beguile is still good, but it's not doesn't need to be the only parlay action you take each round.
Yeah.
I don't
I've
think I even had Fine Clothes. Oof. I'm sure I had it in that scenario, but I don't think I even had it out in every single scenario in the
no.
campaign either.
But I will say there was a noticeable difference when you had it and when you didn't have it. It's kind of the shame of Alessandra that Fine Clothes came first,
Yeah.
um, because it's skewed everything else around it in a way. It even I think even skewed her stat line a little bit. She did get an extra point,
Hmm.
right? But I don't know what it really does without Fine Clothes. Still, it requires a lot of effort to get there. So I'm curious how she's going to be in current, or if there's going to be some sort of parlay treat for her in the next cycle, just to you know,
Well, the extra point, I think. Well,
yeah,
I don't know where it would have gone exactly, but the fact that she has got three brain, three willpower is actually surprisingly relevant in this
yep.
campaign. And in fact, the very first thing I threw as an upgrade beyond the one copy of Snitch we'll talk about later was upgrading the Grizzled. I don't think I touched it again after scenario one, but I
No,
put
because it was perfected at that point.
it had 6 XP into it, which was pulling it back from the discard pile. Then I put Pact on it as well, so I could hit. Well, I mean, it was kind of trying to be revenge for the Twisted to His Will from the first scenario, which is
Yeah,
a Pact. But yeah, I mean, the fact that I can go from a 3 test against, say, Frozen in Fear or Rotting Remains, which I don't think I ever drew, by the way, in the campaign. I think you got all of them.
I did. Yeah,
To a 6 is fantastic on standard, and even up to a 7 when I picked up another card later on in the campaign. But I think that's a clear thing that she can do as a rogue that, Kaimani can sort of do, but no one else really is interested in thinking about those willpower tests as much.
yeah, I agree.
So that helps. Like if she only had a 2, I'm like, is it worth it? But a 3, you're like, okay, I can probably commit something and be better than much better chance than not.
Yep, yep.
So yeah, we got every clue on the board except for the one that you don't need in 2 player. You killed every enemy. So
Yes, we didn't have to light it on fire,
nope,
which was nice.
it was a
We
good
were able to
time.
get some extra VP out of that in the long run.
Hmm. Um, yeah. Oh, right. This is also into the third scenario too. I did use the scout ahead that was in my deck, which clearly wasn't at the end. I thought was really nice, so just avoiding enemies and moving a couple times because, as we'll talk about more, movement in this campaign is, well, maybe like every campaign, honestly, is quite good. But there's a lot of
Yep,
maps that encourage you to get going a little more quickly.
yep.
So that was nice to for me. I think I did a scout ahead just to get out of the party
You did, yeah. You're just like, I'm just gonna leave. Yeah,
and then let you take a few encounter cards on your own. I think
yeah,
to
yeah. I even just like I hung out after you resigned, just waiting for Sebastian to turn so I could kill him.
yep, it
Yep.
was smart. And you weren't afraid. You had a super build, I would say, for soak and
Yeah, in the second scenario, I upgraded into the runic axe with glory and saga, so the quicker recharge, and then I could
mhm.
start healing as well, which was I think a very nice thing to have there. And then I also upgraded my beat cops, which I forgot about until I played them in the scenario, and I
Yeah,
was like, oh, these are the upgraded ones. That's great.
yeah, I remember that.
Yep.
Okay, third scenario was pretty chill as it can be. So that is Echoes of the Past, where you have the. I mean, I don't even think we ever drew a second Seeker of Carcosa, right?
No, we actually didn't. We only saw one, which is crazy. Shows the pace of that scenario we had for that one.
And
Actually, yeah, we didn't draw a second one, only
no,
the first.
and I mean it's 2 player, right? So that's also part of
Yep.
it. But I think we accelerated the end because we just wanted to. We were like, we're gonna try to kill the O speaker, and that
Yep.
was very impressive that you killed him in
I think I
one
killed him in one turn.
one turn.
Yep.
You were fully online at that point. And I did quite well with the clues. I did quite a few beguile tricks there. I think I used an acolyte to bring him into the hidden library, right?
Yes, yeah,
And I shoved him out a different direction than I was going.
that was really funny. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting campaign for the beguiles because they all of the enemies in this scenario, except for well, I guess technically the fanatics too, but also the agent of the king, they are spawning in empty locations, right?
Hmm.
So you got to kind of chase after them, and they're generally not in places that you want to use them. So her ability to move enemies around was quite good too.
Yep. Yeah, there's a lot of times when you would move enemies to me and be
Hmm.
like, "Okay, it's time for this guy to die," and I'm like, "Thank you."
And I think we learned as we were playing a little bit more about what she could do in that sense, especially with your
Yep.
safeguard too. Of like, okay, really the challenge here was I want to go first to do the parlays. It's okay if you kill the enemy maybe this turn, maybe next turn, but I also don't want to get attacked by the enemy. So like what are ways that we can um, manage the movement and our own turn order to make that happen, which I think we got better at as the scenarios went on, even though we got more, you know, exhausted from playing.
Yeah, yeah,
So yeah, you killed the O speaker. We got all the clues off the library, so we got the resolution that gives us the tattered cloak, which you said absolutely not.
yep. Yeah, I had my hunter's armor, which was starting to turn into my soak city. So
Hmm.
yeah, that was like, no thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um, I know in your video last week in Carcosa Week talking about the story rewards, and this campaign doesn't have them. It's
no,
just that, and then some
yep.
weaknesses, which are not really rewards, but yeah, that one's not really worth it either. I guess maybe you could have put the spell slot for the hunter's armor, but
Yeah, I definitely could have. I wasn't using my spell slots for anything, but I kind of had my game plan for all my upgrades at the
hmm,
start.
yeah, all the checkboxes.
So it was one of those things where because I had it all like determined, if I didn't have a plan and we were playing this over the course of like many weeks, which I'm sure we're going to be talking about later in this video,
Hmm.
but I would have been like, no, I don't have. I would have taken it, being like, yeah, why not? I'll make this work, and maybe I adapt my plan. But because we had a plan for the day, I was like, no, I know what I'm doing, and I'm not here to add a roadblock to
No,
that.
and you had a pretty lean deck too, which I think is nice. The Alessandro deck has extra cards in it because of the beguiles. We already get the extra weaknesses. Like, why throw in something that's not part of the plan
Yep.
and isn't really good enough? I think to just say, yeah,
No.
sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was that one, which was fine, and then we got to the big scenario of the day, which makes us all bite our nails a little bit. Are we going to make it out of Unspeakable Oath, out of the asylum? And that one went very, very well.
Yep.
Maybe a little bit of surprise, but I think there were two memorable moments there. One was the very beginning. I drew two corrosions in a row that whiffed because I had no items.
Yeah, that was great. Um,
So
what was the end? Yeah.
I think, and also the other part of that beginning was that I said something like, "Uh oh, I have nothing to get clues," and it was just kind of, what am I going to do? Because I felt
Yeah.
the pressure a bit. I drew Zamacona, and he went off to the garden, which was kind of
Yeah.
funny. I've never intentionally tried to open up those locations, but well, I mean, with elusive, you just had to do it,
Mhm.
and eventually we got through and got all the clues to advance that act. I think I got like 4 or 6 clues or something pretty quickly in a round. You had a few clues. I think I got maybe 4 or something when I was complaining that I couldn't get anything. But sometimes in this deck, and that's rogues too for you, you just feel like there's not just a button I can spam for getting a clue, but once you get the right cards in your hand, you're like, okay, I can do this.
Yeah.
I was very concerned
Yes.
about the location that makes you discard cards every time you investigate.
And
But
yeah, you cleared it in one.
I cleared it in one because I used the parlay ability to get two
Yeah, and
clues.
then yeah, contemplative. And then you snitched them up after.
Exactly. So,
This was also when I had the ancient power. This was the first scenario where my runic axe was fully upgraded,
mhm,
and the my hope for this deck was to use the ancient power to like boost up glories or powers or elders And on the second turn, after Zamakona came into play, I used the elders to grab 2 clues off of the yard,
Yep, because it's one
which
shroud.
gave us
Mhm.
yeah gave us a good start. And um, this was like when I said we kind of adapted. I kind of adapted my plan when I did that. When you told me you were Alessandra, and it was really fun to actually see that pay off. And I was able to do the hunt as well. I moved around a
Mhm.
few times. It was a little bit interesting because we'll talk about this more later, but the charge pressure was is very different when you have to spend so many. Uh, but it never actually came to pass. I was able to make it work the whole time, and I think the game plan with the reliables was super clutch for that.
Yeah, I'd never really seen with the runic axe you take so many fight actions for one damage, but it actually made sense.
Mhm,
So I was impressed with how you made that work because you're either trying to get the clues off of it or you were trying to just leave the enemy alive for like an extra turn or something.
mhm.
That was kind of cool. I liked that build a lot too.
Yeah, it was a very different runic axe build than what you normally see,
Hmm.
which was cool. Yeah.
That's customizable for you, right? It should have a few other
Yes.
ways of dealing with the challenges of a campaign.
But yeah, no, we I think we finished that scenario with 3 doom on
Yeah,
the
two or
last
three. Yep.
agenda.
Hmm.
Yeah, which was very impressive to show how much we teched for it and how serious we were about it. And we had to kill uh Daniel because we had the evil version,
Hmm.
and then we had one of the Byakis at the end, right?
Which I
Um,
grabbed from Where's the Party?
yeah. So like we had a lot of time and we still cut through a few big bosses. We saw this the base the asylum gorger, but he never really mattered.
We were long
Um,
gone at that point.
yeah.
Well, yeah, there's actually a few other things that I wasn't expecting we were going to do. Well, one was we didn't go into the kitchen to set a fire.
Yep.
Usually that's something you do, but we didn't have to. And I went into the medical ward or whatever it's called and got those clues because I moved one of the mad patients in there and then just used
Yep.
his ability to, or the beguile ability to get clues off of it, which was very funny. I mean, I had to go in
Yeah.
first in order to reveal it, but it was.
But you moved in with a scout ahead, which showed the power
Mm,
of scout ahead, where you used it to like you moved in there, and you're
mhm.
like, yeah, I'll just move out, right?
Yep, that's
And then
right.
you're like, I'm gonna deal with this eventually. I'm sure I'll be able to make it work, and you were.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah, that was sick, honestly. And then of course, moving the mad patients out of the way is huge anyway because they don't hunt.
Yeah.
I was surprised actually, and this is also going back to your weakness, which we'll talk about more later too. How many non-hunters there are in Carcosa?
Yes. Yep. I mean, one of my biggest pet peeves in New Arkham and also like a lot of custom Arkham now is that everything hunts. It's not really interesting when everything has hunter. Let's just assume that all enemies hunt now, right? Like find ways to make enemies interesting without hunting. And like the I think the asylum, like the patients who go in the asylum wings are interesting because they do a roadblock, right? So I like Carcosa for that reason. And you can also then as a player take advantage of them, which
Mhm.
is to me infinitely more interesting.
Yeah, the map design is more interesting in this campaign because of it's not just you can kite enemies around because they have hunter, but you have to go through certain locations. There's no
Yep.
choice of just. I mean, you don't have to go to everything. Clearly, we didn't go into the kitchen, but um, the objective is geared around where the locations are. So that's very smart. I like that.
Yeah, I also don't think I'm ever going to go into the kitchen again. I think the yard and then 2 or 3 of the basements, and then you replace it with the wall is
Hmm.
like the garden is like the way to go. Yard and 3 in the basement is, I think, definitely my new way going forward for that scenario. I think the kitchen is a waste of time, is what I realized today, or
Yeah.
yesterday rather.
Well, also when Bryn tried to light fire and failed like three times, right?
Yes.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I
Yeah.
think the nice thing about having Alessandra and Zoe is that our stats were kind of mirrors of each other.
Yes.
So we could like usually you don't want to do that last um, foot test in the garden because there's so much pressure at that point. Like why? Who do I have that can pass that test? But that wasn't a problem at all.
Mhm. Yep.
It was a fun time. We got out.
Yep.
Didn't have to bring out Father Mateo or Dexter. Didn't have to bring out Nathaniel Cho or Harvey. So good times.
Yeah, and then we had a lunch break and we were refreshed into Phantom of Truth, which we absolutely destroyed.
Crushed it. That was
Yeah,
maybe the strongest scenario that I had.
yeah.
I don't know
It
why,
was
but it's kind of a blur to me
it
right now.
it was nuts. It just like so I put in the safeguard 2 at that point and it
Mm,
allowed us to stick together, which took so much pressure off because you would just like move around. I would kill things that showed up. I got 4 clues on the first one.
that's right. You got a bunch of clues at the beginning. You outclued me.
Yeah,
That was
and
fun.
yeah, it was just one of those things that again, the runic axe paid off for that one. There's not too much to say about that scenario because it was just so smooth.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
was probably the smoothest I've ever had it, especially since we spent a lot of clues. I don't think I ever spent clues to evade the guy. Is that right?
never did. Yeah, never did, and he never attacked. He never even like he only engaged us like once on purpose.
Hmm. That's some
Yeah.
strength of having someone who can evade.
Yes. Yep. And someone
And
who can have enemies evade because you had one of the swift Byakis
yeah,
locking the guy
ex-
down as well. Yeah.
exactly. Was this one where also I took a VP enemy to do that? It was not the.
Yes, the swift Byaki. Yeah. The
No, I
or
think
the
it's the
screeching Byaki.
screeching.
Screechy.
Yeah,
Screechy. Yeah.
that's kind of funny. I was like, we'll come back and kill him later, but for now, he's gonna do some work for
Yeah.
me. Oh yeah, because he was in the cemetery, and I used him to get a clue because it doesn't matter if you're not in there. The
Yeah.
ability in the on the location says if you investigate there, you can't leave. Well, I wasn't there in the
Yeah.
first place, so sorry.
Yeah. It was just the little Byaki doing all the work.
Yep.
Yeah.
To be fair, I thought about this later because it's like, oh, did the designers not have foresight on like remote cluing like that? Actually, no. In the Know came out in Carcosa,
Yep.
right? So
Yep.
that's
Yeah, it's always been intentional for it to be possible. Like
yeah,
that's the Min hacker Min was kind of there from the beginning, right? Like the for her.
yeah. It was a fun scenario to play though. At that point, I replaced the scout aheads with nimbles because I didn't think I needed to move through enemies anymore, and I didn't need to move that much. I thought it might be just fun to have that in that scenario. I took them out later because I thought Pallid Mask, which is the next scenario, I wouldn't need to move quite as many times because the locations don't appear quite that quickly.
Yep.
And that was fine, but I probably should have put it back later in retrospect. Anyway, so yeah, Pallid Mask was also pretty smooth until the end.
Yeah, we had this awkward thing where we both ended up walking away with a mental trauma because we risked neither of us getting a mental trauma.
Hmm.
Um, so like there was a moment where you were with an enemy, a ghoul that was Smite the Wicked, and it happened to fall on the location with the blocked passage, which was how we were escaping.
Right.
And unfortunately, um, that has objective, which is when everyone is in there, you automatically advance. There's no may. And it's one. So if I moved in to try to kill my ghoul, uh, we would have advanced and I would have gotten a mental trauma. You took a few trauma from the tablet token, which is if there's a ready ghoul or Geist enemy at your location, they attack you.
Hmm.
And that was the thing. We were like, okay, so if you evade the ghoul and bring him out,
Hmm.
I can kill him, and neither of us gets like trauma, right? Like that's kind of the hope. I could protect you because I had my hunter's armor that was now protective runes, so we were going to be a okay. But for the first evasion attempt, you drew the tablet and died, and then I had to move in and get a mental trauma.
Yeah.
So it was like literally the plan. I think was sound, but unfortunately, luck just hated us for that one. At first, it gave us the first bit where the ghoul was on the wrong location,
Right.
and then the tablets multiple times from you for that one.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't have much soak in this deck, and that's a nasty effect, right? I got hit
Yep.
a few times in the scenario for it, and thankfully, when you were attacking the Spectre of Death, you didn't have that problem. So, whew,
Yep.
you got rid of
Yes.
him
Yeah.
pretty quickly too.
Yeah. I actually, yeah, no, I did have a surprisingly big rate for just like neutralizing boss monsters for not really having a lot of damage options in this deck. But when you have like one attack with your Rudic Axe that deals what 5 damage, like that's a pretty good start. And then you just like poke them down with other things as well.
I think Zoe's
And the
Cross did a lot.
dynamite. I also threw
Oh, that's
dynamites.
right, you did. Yeah.
Yeah, no, and you're right. I actually had a pretty high hit rate on Zoe's Cross for this one as well.
Hmm.
which is very fun to play with. It's a shame it's a one of because I think it really opens Zoe wide open. But I actually had a pretty good hit rate with that one.
And even the Elder Sign, you did pretty well there. I think you almost always drew the
Yeah,
Elder Sign during attack.
5 of my 6 elder signs throughout the campaign were during attacks, and I think like 3 of them were relevant. Yeah,
Yeah. I actually had a lot of Elder Signs myself. I drew 10, also 10 autofails, but Alessandra's Elder Sign is a banger.
it's very good.
It doesn't always do something. I think a couple times I was already evading an enemy and that was the only one on the board, but it's +2 for one, and then that helps with the lucky cigarette case. And it just did save on a bunch of actions, and I believe I drew it sometimes in the last king where it was able to not have to worry about an enemy moving in. It was just evading
Yes.
it instead of doing the beguile evade on it itself. It's good.
Yeah. Yeah, we actually had a pretty fair spread for auto fails and elder signs. You had 10 and 10,
Hmm.
and I had 6 and 7. So like no big skew either way. The way you kind of hope it to be, right? Like if I
Hmm.
could draw 1 for 1 the entire campaign, I'd do it in a heartbeat.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, just to finish up on that piled mask scenario, I did start to feel a little bit myself on the we've been playing all day and made a few I made maybe a few poor decisions, and the whole why two player is a bit harder than two-handed solo is was relevant there because I knew you had a plan with how to deal with that last enemy, and I don't think I was completely understanding it. And I also was playing a bit more like the scenario's over, right? I could take a few
Yeah.
extra hits from things, and then suddenly I
Yeah, the
couldn't.
catacombs docent, right? I
Hmm.
remember, yeah, you let that guy talk your ear off.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
just like, I'm just gonna get some clues, and maybe I was just getting off a VP location. I'm not sure, but I think if I were playing a bit more conservatively and had understood the problem, because you were trying to bait out the your weakness, right?
Mhm.
While it was far away in the right direction.
Yeah, I even chose it off of the lucky cigarette case
Mm,
3 that you gave me.
that's right.
Yeah. I mean, if it was any other location, we would have been fine,
Yeah,
but
you're
it
right.
would just happen to be like the blocked passage. So, yeah.
Yeah, and it could have been a different enemy, right? Some of the other
Yeah.
ones have a hunter or well,
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah, yeah, because it
it
could
would
have
have
been
been
it would have spawned the what are they called the giant monster versions
the corpse dweller.
corpse dwellers, right? That guy would have spawned, right? Because it's not a draw the card, just spawns it.
Yeah, we were actually hoping that like during the middle phase, one of us would draw get a corpse dweller and it would have blown up the ghoul,
Right.
but nope, never happened. But I mean, all things considered, it was just like we had the worst result possible that we could have had, but it didn't hinder the campaign too much.
No. So I had an extra mental trauma, so did you, but we made it through okay. The next scenario was where we added the -5 token, and I thought that was surprisingly relevant.
Yes, that Black Star's Rise was probably the scenario I felt the worst in.
Hmm.
Um, and I think it was a very reasonable decision at the time of keeping a Doom enemy around to parlay with. So this is like the struggle that Alessandra brings to fighters.
Hmm.
Where we'll talk about this later on when we're done this thing, but she can make it sometimes where it's like we should kill this enemy, and Alessandra's like, no, I got to party with this guy, and it can cause some stress if, for example, Zamakona shows up. Zamakona was actually very relevant in this campaign.
He was a good
Uh,
weakness. I was very
yeah,
impressed.
never like I've seen in previous freaking Zamakona runs. Like when he just shows up, it's usually just he just dies, but not this guy. I think a big thing for that too is the way that my weapons worked.
Mm.
My weapon was about poking enemies to death to get other value, and that doesn't work well with Zamakona. Uh, but I then failed a bunch of attacks against these things. Took a lot of unnecessary damage because of the failures,
Hmm.
and we had to advance Doom early because both Zamakona and the Rift Seeker were just like they had Doom on them. So it was a rough start to Black Star's Rise. We were able to get through it because we found the right place first. And a funny thing happened where when things were looking bad, I was like, all right, so do we agree to not get the clues off of the high clue location?
Yeah.
And then I did it anyway with a scene of the crimes and a bunch of elders fighting acolytes up there,
And that's
which was
six
actually
clues. That's six
yeah, which
clues.
is it's actually pretty impressive when you think about it. Um, but that was kind of a fun little thing where it was a really rough start, but we actually finished very well.
Hmm.
I drew every crashing floods except
Yes.
for maybe one. And I also got that's when I started to get like rotting remains a lot too. Like I got some bad like mythos draws in the last two scenarios, but those crashing floods were destroying me.
You lost two
And
actions repeatedly. It's a good thing you had 9 health, right?
yep, yeah, it was a rough go for that one for the mythos deck for poor little Zoe.
Yeah. I don't think I got hurt much at all, but there was one very funny moment at the end. So you're right. At the beginning, it was, and I felt this way at the beginning of a lot of scenarios, honestly, where I was like, I don't know how I'm going to get clues very quickly, and that's just life. Sometimes there's so much doom that you can put into play in this scenario that we probably shouldn't have
Yeah,
worried so much. But I got there, and you were helping a lot too with the clues. But at the end, where you have to get clues off of the location, and we had the one where you have to have only 3 or fewer sanity left.
yeah,
Um, I was like, I was sitting there with my Moxie, and it's like, well, I don't really want to get rid of this, but we'll do it next turn. And I drew the mark by the sign. It's the one that you do a tough willpower test, and if the man of the pale mask is in play, it's +2, and you
yeah,
take 2 direct horror. So I was like, great, that will get me exactly where I need to be and keep the Moxie in play because it's direct horror. And what do? I draw the +1.
yes, yeah, yeah,
I passed the test. It was
yeah.
so funny to me at that point. I kind of lost it, going a little bit nuts in Carcosa. It was just so funny. I mean, of course, we had the way of just getting the horror anyway with saying
Yeah, that
Haster.
that was the yeah, those are the only three times we said Haster
Hmm.
that dealt horror. And it was all purposely. We had no accidental ones. At this point now, it's very rare that that happens.
I've never done it before.
Yeah.
I'm usually paying attention enough. I mean, it's at this point too, right? You hear the word Haster outside the context, and I'm just thinking, take one horror, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, we got there, and despite some difficulties, like the token bag was pretty mean to me in
Yes.
that early section as well, and to you as well. And yet we survived. I think you had a very resilient build, and I think I had a lot of things I could do eventually.
Hmm. Yeah.
That brings us to the finale, which went very, very smoothly.
Yeah. The finale was pretty manageable.
Hmm. There was only one thing that was bad, I think, and that was the very first or maybe second encounter cards, which were Realm of Madness, which
Hmm.
at that
Yeah.
point we had all the horror on us still, and
Yeah.
it nuked my board.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, I actually was. I kind of tried really hard. You'll notice if you watch the Iron Man that I always had backups, and I
mhm,
prioritized finding backups for everything. For when there was corrosion.
mhm,
For straitjacket, I didn't play things unless I had money to replay my runic axe, right? And then even in that last scenario, because I played Harvey in Eric's blind run,
yeah,
and we lost the campaign because I lost everything, right, to that card.
mhm.
So I was like, all right, I need to have 6 value worth of assets that I can get rid of here, assets and events, right? Um, and luckily you were able to keep what your fine clothes and your um what's the card called?
The fake credentials.
The fake credentials, yeah.
Hmm.
And
I had to get rid of
thankfully for that. Yeah.
Gregory, Fox Mask, and then I had a pickpocketing in my hand. I got rid of. So
Yeah.
the deck was like fine enough to draw through and get stuff going. Like there's more events than anything else there. So I wasn't too bothered, but it did feel like, hey, I've got a great opening hand. Then the game said, no, no, you
Yeah.
don't.
Yeah. Another MVP in that one, Dynamite showed why it's like Dynamite Blast
Hmm.
is why it's like really good and people should play it. even if like just as a one of, because we had to kill the stranger, like the man in the pallid mask, and he can only be killed by damage. And we
Hmm.
had this awkward thing where it's like we don't really have a good window because we know Haster shows up there, and we can't get out.
Hmm.
So it's like, so what if I just throw the dynamite blast in and then we just move away? And we never really caught up. Like Haster never caught up to us. We went to him to finish the job.
Yeah, that was so. There's two moments I think that were huge. That was one of them because we always stayed one step ahead after he spawned.
Yep.
And then also when we flipped the location that healed 5 horror, and then I think a second one did as well.
Yep.
Then we felt just we could do pretty much anything at that point.
Yep.
I
Yep.
think the fake credentials had a very good showing in that scenario
Yes, it
because
was
everything
insane.
is revealed and you can pick and choose which clues you want to pick up. Because the two locations on either end of the Palace of the King have something bad happen when you get the last clue, especially one of them where you lose an action. But that's not a problem if you just take clues from basically wherever and then pick that one up for your last ability. So
Yep.
pretty good. I can talk more about that card later, but it was really strong. In fact, the Beast of Aldebaran didn't show up at all in Unspeakable Oath because it was just in the deck still when we finished. It showed up in Black Star's Rise, but we didn't touch it. Didn't need to. And
Yep.
then we didn't do any damage to it in the last scenario either.
Yep.
Didn't need to. And that's the power of remote cluing too.
Yep.
I also
Do you want to
felt
start with your deck because we have fake credentials? I think that's a good
sure.
segue into this. Yeah.
Yeah, I felt pretty good in that last scenario because there were more elite enemies around too that we weren't just killing, so it was easier to pull off the the parlay. But
Yes.
yeah, here is the deck as a whole. And just to show the card that we're talking about here, here it is. I've played this card before, just once before. Um, but what I never done before was just start building up suspicion on it. And that ended up happening, and it was still okay because I felt like I could pass the test when it was critical. And you know what? If you fail, it's just 2 resources in an action. You
Yeah.
put it back down again.
Yeah, it's just a tax. Like there's actually no punishment for coming back to your hand. It's just like a tax. I mean, I guess that is a punishment, but it's not. You get to like you don't have to discard it. You can just play it again. Yeah, you just have to like get a new picture for your fake credentials.
Right. I believe that happened at some point where I auto failed and then just played it again and then did another parlay. It's like, let's try this again, buddy.
It happened. It happened 2 turns in a row actually because you did like fake credentials, fake credentials. No, you did fake credentials.
Hmm.
Yeah, fake credentials. Auto failed it. Played it again. Fake credential, and you did that like 2 turns in a row.
And that to me is the benefit of having those 4 actions. That is not
Yes.
something you can do otherwise. I mean, clearly,
Yeah.
it feels like I'm just saying something redundant, but in this game, having a fourth action on tap like that is very big. The very last thing I did
Yeah.
in this Dim Carcosa was move for 2 actions with Frozen in Fear, and then do a breaking and entering to evade the uh, Beast of Aldebaran, and then did a fake credentials to get the last clue. Like
Yeah.
the Frozen in Fear tax doesn't even matter.
Yeah.
Okay, that's also worth talking about in the context of what was my clue acceleration in 2 player. Well, I had 2 copies of Contemplative, which I think levels Alessandra up a bit because she didn't have a deduction, and this is like always relevant to her.
Yeah.
So this is very, very nice. I used it to great effect. I don't think I ever auto failed or failed a test with this committed. I get that some people say like it's missing an icon, but when she's parlaying with a test of 0, it's
Mm-hmm.
free,
Yep.
basically. And I had 1 copy of Snitch. That's it.
Yeah. So I didn't know you only had 1 copy of Snitch until you brought it up. I thought you had 2.
Yeah.
Um, I'm sure like the deck. I also see you only have 1 copy of Eldritch Tongue as well.
Yep.
Um, but it turns out it actually worked out pretty okay, and I think a big reason for that is Lucky Cigarette Case 3. Very strong card. Um, like I'm sure a second Snitch wouldn't have hurt the deck.
No, I probably should have
It
done it,
probably,
but
but I think that overall it worked out pretty all right.
yeah. So
You
yeah,
do
when
have a
you
lot of one-ofs. You do love your one-ofs. I
I
was gonna
love
say
a
like
one
a
of.
one-off pickpocketing. Yeah.
Well, I do feel like there's a certain amount of, if you look at the deck entirely, um, there's some good stuff that you want in play, and I
Yep.
just want to draw through the rest of the deck somehow and get there. But none of those one-ofs were that crucial. You'll note that I have this liquid courage that I added in at some point, and I felt like because of the mental trauma, maybe I'll need it in the last scenario, but we got
Yep.
lucky enough to heal all the horror pretty quickly.
Yep. Yep.
Otherwise, I would have played it. Um, but it's like, what do you cut to have two of for some of these things, right?
Hmm.
I think the skills were too crucial. I even dropped down to one of perception at the end. I didn't want to not have skills. I didn't want to not have an ally because even though in an Iron Man especially, I was horrible at trying to use Gregory's ability.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
don't do
You're
this
like
if
me
you're.
with Crystal Pendulum. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I knew he's there, but like doing the math of like what is the best number to call for this was just it. I mean, I even missed Lucky Cigarette case triggers sometimes.
Yeah. Especially in the last like scenario, we were both kind of like
Uh,
feeling the Iron Man.
yep. So I mean, he was there for soak. Honestly, like I needed something for the horror, and I killed him
Yep.
often for exactly that purpose. Um, but right, like what am I gonna kill? Like the breaking and entering? That's too good to not
Hmm.
have copies of that. Um, the Griffs are parlay. I don't think I can dump that. You'll see that the Where's the Party is gone at this point in the
Yep.
campaign too, but maybe I even should have kept that. I should have been using that more aggressively to draw enemies when uh, we didn't have anything on the board. So
Yeah,
like,
but we were pretty enemy heavy. That we were bogged down quite a bit, so I think it's pretty all right. I mean, I
yeah,
think like the thing is like also you have Lucky Cigarette Case for card selection. Like that's better than just idle draw.
yes. And I don't
Yeah.
think I was, other than the beginning of the scenarios, I don't think I was ever taking a basic draw action.
Yep.
But I was for sure at the beginning of scenarios just to get something going.
Hmm.
But yeah, like I wasn't gonna dump these skills; they're too important. The untimely transaction is kind of funny. I put this in here to give you the lucky cigarette case, the extra copy, which I didn't do in the last scenario, but I could have. I just felt like we were done at that point
Yeah.
when the second one showed up. But it was pretty fun. Did you enjoy having a lucky cigarette case in
I
your?
did. I did. I did. It gave me a mental trauma when I grabbed my weakness.
That all right, that was Lucky Cigarette Case's fault. Yep,
Yeah.
fair
Yeah.
enough.
No, it
Uh,
was my fault. I chose it. I chose it.
you did.
Yeah.
Um, actually forgot until I played the card that it gives me resources and a card too.
Yeah.
I think this card maybe in 3 or 4 players a better shot, but this was economy. I liked it.
Yep.
But like what else? I don't know what you would have just looking at the deck. What you wouldn't have put in here. I mean, even I think I probably dropped the extra perception for the easy marks, which were a nice add at the end as well.
Yeah, because you said once you put in what was it the streetwise, you're like I need to up my economy.
Yes. So I don't know. That's just how the deck ended up being, especially since I didn't have a set plan. I just kind of vibed a bit. I did always want to put this in because it's an easy way to just say, I am going to try to pass this test. You can't
Yeah.
do it all the time. You just can't. So I had to pick and choose my spots there. But once I had it and I started using it a bit more, I needed to add some more econ. Just had to happen. Hello, everyone. It's me from later, and you might have wondered why I didn't bring up this guy, Walter Fitzpatrick, who is a specialist ally that Alessandra could have taken. For 2 XP, 3 resources, 2 soak, you get +1 skill value while parlaying, and then you get the Dr. Monalan ability to, after you successfully parlay, exhaust him to gain 1 resource. I did say that I had a problem parlaying and getting a skill value up above like 4 for the fake credentials, and getting some drip economy would have been nice. Why didn't I put this guy in the deck? Answer: I forgot. I don't know if it would have been worth 4 XP for 2 copies to replace Mr. Gregory Gry, but it would have been worth a shot. So maybe instead of that hot streak at the end, maybe I could have put the 4 XP into this guy. Oh well, I forgot. That's also what happens when you play an Ironman and go for 7 hours. What do you think of the Moxie? This was kind of an odd choice, maybe.
Oh no, I think it was great. You were worried about you're taking a lot of damage at points, so the Moxie I think was a nice thing to have there. It also is kind of like streetwise for your brain, like a
Hmm.
less value, but I understand it. I like the level 3 composures. I think all of them are fine to put in if you don't have anything you want and you just want some soak and some stats.
Yeah,
It's like I think there's a big difference between, like, for example, Joe Diamond playing scientific theory or whatever it is,
yeah.
um, versus like you playing Moxie there. Joe Diamond wants it in play, so he's going to protect it. You put Moxie down, and you're like, if I can protect it, good. But otherwise, this card doing 2 damage to me is just 3 experience and a card in my deck. It's nothing to worry about.
And it gave me bonuses along the way. So it's fast,
Yeah,
it's free. I probably would have thought a bit more about it if I knew you weren't putting in the runes, the protective runes in
yeah,
your hunter's armor, because that let me keep this around a little bit longer. So
yeah.
thank you for that.
Happy to help. That's why he's always here
Yep.
to enter
Um,
Hunter's armor.
the weaknesses, nihilism I had from the beginning. I think I only triggered this once, maybe twice.
Yeah. Yeah, no, nihilism wasn't too we cleared it out pretty quick too, as kind of like a priority
Hmm.
clear.
And I think I got lucky whenever it was sitting around. I just didn't draw the auto fails. So thank you, game. Chronophobia we never left in play.
Yeah.
This is not good for this campaign.
Yeah, this is the one that you got in scenario 7.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then we both, of course, had Lost Soul, and this was tougher for me because I was doing a brain test.
I actually haven't had a lost soul that's been nice for me in a while, so I was really happy to have one that was actually kind of good for me.
The good thing was that that may have also influenced the Moxie decision because I did put the damage over here.
Yep.
Um, it also was a pact, so that was also my grizzled idea of
Mhm.
being able to pull that out. Um, yeah, I mean it was fine. Like it wasn't something that was killer. It's just that there's a greater density of weaknesses now in the deck, so
Mhm.
there you go. Yeah, this could have been a second snitch somewhere. Probably should have been, but we never really felt that we were hurting for clues. In fact, if we just talk
No,
about the difficulty of the campaign, I mean, we didn't fail anything. But the doom clock was not a problem.
no. No, and I think a big part of that was also just like I was able to get clues while killing things too, and it's a very conscious choice for us to do that.
Hmm.
Again, this is why if you're going to play a campaign together, you should talk about what the game plans are, especially when you start getting more knowledge of what can I do as a player to influence other players' decks without hurting their game plan or hindering my own, but
Hmm.
basically just make everything better.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially since we played together quite a bit now, we probably
Mhm.
understand that our tendencies too. So let's
Mhm.
go talk about your deck. I think that's a good also point to make that my deck was a little bit weird, and I mean it's not super weird, but it's a little bit. It's not as streamlined and focused as yours is. There's a lot of one ofs, as you said. There's a lot of kind of strange ideas
Mhm.
um, that not everyone's going to go for. But that's me, and I know that
Yeah,
you're reliable in terms of how you build your decks, especially for this
yeah,
Iron Man, and that's fine.
yeah.
Like, there's if anyone's bemoaning, I don't know, down the rabbit hole or something. I said this to you before I started recording. Justin is doing more than just that here's there in the stream, right? You're running a stream, you're talking to chat, you're making sure recordings are going on and off, the different things for people to vote on,
Mhm.
a lot going on. So not having to think between scenarios about your upgrades, I think was a really nice thing for you. So
Yeah, and it's even when I told chat when we were doing this, is like they were like, I can't like they're like, you're doing down the rabbit hole. And I'm like, I play to win. I play to win, right? And if like I'll look at the challenge and be like, what helps me win the challenge the best,
mm-hmm,
right? So if we're doing like a dumb little challenge where it's like, um, how do we build around cryptic grimoire? I'm gonna be like, I'm gonna play Amanda Sharp, right? I'm gonna play the thing that I think wins the best. If I were playing a current run and I choose to play Skids O'Toole, just because I'm choosing to play Skids O'Toole doesn't mean I'm not a power gamer. I'm going to try to make the most powerful deck I can with that.
mm-hmm,
And then in the Ironman format, I want to win, so I'm going to play. Pretty much every Ironman we play, except for maybe some of them, like maybe like Forgotten Age, because I have choices of what I think is powerful there.
mm-hmm.
I'm going to play down the rabbit hole if I can, right? Like don't even be surprised if in the future I actually like if we do an Ironman in a few sets from now, I actually just pull out Rex Murphy again because like I'm just here to win the day as quick as possible because that's how you win an Ironman in my mind, right?
I could just see you going through all the Dunnish investigators because they have
Yeah.
access to it.
Yes. Yeah.
Maybe not.
Um,
You got the best two. Maybe not Ashcan Pete. You
I
could
would
do
do
it.
Ashcan Pete. I would do Ashcan Pete.
Okay, you could
Um,
totally pull off a down the rabbit hole Ashcan Pete. There's
yeah.
enough
I
upgrades
just want
now.
to do it in Circle Undone. I made that mistake with Eric,
Hmm.
but like, yeah. But yeah, no, this deck it's exactly as you said. It's there's really no surprises. Um, I think this is a big thing. You wanted to talk about the Runic Axe and how I only had 2 copies, but I always seem to find it in my opening hand.
And
A
never the
big
devil.
part, yeah, never the devil. So a big part of that is I got incredibly lucky, right? Um, we did it afterwards, the geometric calculator, like the hypergeometric calculator, and it's like a 54% chance of drawing the a two of in your opening hand,
Mm-hmm.
right? You have a 54% chance. So I got really lucky with my coin flips, right? Um, but there's also a lot of decisions that come with it. So an example of this is that if I didn't get the runic axe in my opening hand, my deck was prepared to find the runic axe.
Mm-hmm.
My first upgrades I did, apart from the runic axe and the B cop, was I put in an emergency cache 2. A lot of players won't make that decision because it's not really a good, exciting. Well, it's not really an exciting card to upgrade. You're like, yes, my economy now draws a card. But for me, when I see that, I think this is going to help me in the chance that I do not find what I need to find, which is either a prepared for the worst or my runic axe. I'll like be able to get it that way. So in my mulligans, I'm only looking for if runic axe is in my opening 5, I change my mulligan plan. But if runic axe isn't in my opening my 5, I'll keep either stand together or prepared for the worst, and everything else is going to go. Also, with the priority of upgrading the stand together to draw cards,
So
because
good.
again, my game plan for this deck was to help me find the runic axe if I did not get it in my opening hand.
And this helped me. Thank you so much for
Yes.
having this
Yeah.
in early game. I don't think you ever played it like in the middle of the game somewhere. This was
No, I don't think
always
so.
just
It was
early.
always pretty early. I like the one where I did a stand together and I drew a stand together and then I played the stand together
Yep.
and we stood together really closely at that point.
Did you ever consider putting a stick to the plan in here?
No, I mean, I okay, that's a lie. Yes, I had one thought was like, do I want to stick to the plan? But I no, like because I could put the dynamite blast on there. I
Mm-hmm.
could put the prepared for the worst on there,
And a shortcut.
um, and like a shortcut. But like that's I'd rather just draw them than spend 7 XP on it. Like I just don't think it was
True.
worth 7 XP. If the down the rabbit hole wasn't there, I'd consider it. But um,
I
I think
should
again, it's
mention
just
that you have 51 XP, all things considered. There's another
yeah,
reason for that. The Unspeakable Oath Curiosity was something you picked up at the end. And
yeah,
I ended up with 41. So you had
yeah.
10 more at the end of the day.
Yeah, and I was looking at it. I missed 3 of my down the rabbit hole XP because the Arkham build can tell you on the upgrades of how you spent it, which is really
Oh,
neat.
nice.
Um, but yeah, I think that I built this deck in mind with how my mulligans could have been bad, but I got incredibly lucky. I'm not going to pretend for a second that this could have gone wrong. But even if it went wrong, so in the original deck before you were Alessandra, I also had 2 enchanted blades
Mm-hmm.
with the plan to upgrade those into the upgraded enchanted blades. But when you were Alessandra and you were like, I'm gonna want enemies around, my thought process was I can be a little bit more lenient about finding a weapon. So even if I never found the runic axe, I don't think I would have worried too much. But in some scenarios, again, you watch us in Unspeakable Oath. My priority when I had the runic axe became finding a second runic axe, and guess what my deck did every time? It
Mm-hmm.
found a second runic axe,
Yeah,
right?
you're
Like
playing
that's
this card, prepare for the worst,
yeah,
just to find a second copy, even though you already had
yes,
one in your hand, in your
yeah,
hand or in your play area.
yeah. So like that's like what this deck was all about. It was just finding the runic axe, and I'm not surprised that it worked out. I'm surprised that I never had to do it the hard way, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm grateful I didn't have to do it the hard way.
Me too.
Yeah.
So this is a good time to ask you more about that question I posed to you earlier about what's it like playing a two-player game with Alessandra when you signed up to be the fighter. Did you have to change your game plan? Yes, a little bit. We talked about that. But also like the gameplay itself. Did you feel like I was intruding on what you wanted to do every round in a way that was meaningful, or did you feel like you were bored, like there wasn't anything to do on some
I never felt
turns?
like I was bored. I actually felt like overwhelmed at times
Mm.
with enemies. Um, but you have to put a lot of trust in an Alessandra. Where you were like, I want this enemy around, and I was like,
Okay.
okay, yeah. And I feel like sometimes that's kind of hard to do to put trust in it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think at a certain point, we shifted, and I think it might have been very late in the campaign after we had the Doom fiasco and Black Stars Rise, when you were like, I'll use this enemy, and then you kill it because odds are we're gonna find another enemy.
Yeah.
I think like there was a big shift after that point, and I feel like that's kind of the fun dance that there is to discover with Alessandra, where there's always going to be another enemy. It may not be about keeping the same enemy. We actually never ended up handcuffing anything.
No.
Um, I actually just use those as corrosion bait at certain points, or like crypt chill baits.
Yeah.
Um,
It would have been cool
but
if we had pulled this off, but I think it was too difficult to find the right enemy for it because
yep,
you'd have to has to be humanoid, has to be. I mean, sometimes the Doom enemies were showing up elsewhere. Um, I don't think the right moment happened.
no, and luckily I'm Zoe, so I was resource rich,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like I had I playing them wasn't even, it didn't feel bad even though we never used them.
Mm-hmm.
It was just kind of funny, but it's just how it was.
I mean, you were replaying the Hunter's Armors, the Beat Cops anyway. Like that was
Yeah,
you had a good usage of your resources for sure.
yeah. And I'll just say, everybody, upgrade your emergency caches. Like they're very good.
Yep.
Like them also just drawing a card means that if you play, if so, later on in the game you don't need the econ for emergency cache, but you're just drawing cards to fill things out, and you can just play these, get money, and then you can also increase your curve because you feel more inclined to play your economy because it's also replacing itself.
I mean, this is a big boy, the Dynamite Blast 3, but
Yep,
it's good. It does so
yep.
much,
It
especially on
does a
those
lot.
aloof enemies.
Yep.
So yeah, like sometimes I've heard people say that in two-player, maybe it's less of a problem, but sometimes in other player counts where the fighter needs to do a little bit more just to do something during downtime. And I think you had a lot of stuff to play and to get the hunter's armors for sure that you weren't really stuck in downtime. You weren't wondering like what
Nope.
do I do? But also that was partly because of your runic axe getting clues, right? You were keeping some enemies around a little bit longer to move them into a location with clues, then use elders. So it didn't seem like you were concerned about playing with a another investigator who doesn't want you to kill.
Yeah, and I think what also helped was that there was like an enemy around that you were using, and then you draw like a softer enemy, and you were like, you can kill this enemy that I don't need anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, okay. Because I think I mean, I obviously had turns where I was just like drawing cards, but so did you, right? So I don't think like it was one of those things where like it really happened too much to. I never was really like dead weight in downtimes. But I'm going to tell you, you should try this runic axe build too. With
Yeah,
the elders and ancient powers, it actually was a really fun time. Like we said in the Black Stars Rise, I cleared a six clue location.
that's crazy.
Um, yeah,
That part's crazy. I have played Elders before, and it's very good. I've done it in Vincent Lee, and you throw Mind Over Matter 2 into it. It's very funny because you're
yeah,
at like some crazy amount and you just get all the
yeah.
clues.
The other time I did it was with Lily Chen with an enchant weapon on it,
Yeah, that
and also
also.
the ancient the ancient power, and then you just like grab three clues while also just neutralizing an enemy is very fun.
Yeah, that's wacky. Okay, what else is on my list of things to talk about?
We wanted to talk about the difference between piecemealing a campaign and playing it all in one day, and how it
Yes.
can impact the feel of the deck.
Yeah, learning the deck, getting used to the deck, even playing with another person, what that was like. So I'll start and sort of say that One thing I think is different between the two of us in terms of how we play is I usually don't just immediately upgrade my decks after I play a scenario. I kind of sit on it for a bit. Um, Sometimes I wait until like the beginning of the next scenario to do that, and this helped me a bit have a bit more coherent of an idea of what I was trying to do because I was playing a second scenario right afterwards, of course, and it helped me remember not just what happened in the last scenario, what happened in earlier scenarios too. So I wasn't making decisions that were just reactive
Mhm.
to what was good or what was not good in the previous scenario. That might not always be apparent because I was adaptable also because I was making changes for what I thought was coming up. But I think I'd never played Alessandra before. I've told everyone that before. I learned way more about her strengths and weaknesses and how the deck evolved was not just me learning, but also seeing what more XP does for this deck. Again, the Beguiles are extremely good. I was always playing to play Beguiles, but I started to get more use once I could put more XP into the fake credentials of running that also. And that changed up what I was trying to do with the deck. So things evolved. And I also started to pay attention to the resource generation because of Streetwise, and that needed to change once I was, getting into that play pattern.
Mhm. I think a big thing. So for I think a big thing is that you also just like kind of feel like you can enjoy the deck a bit more
Mm,
because you're just like you're seeing the draws and you're like, okay, yeah, this is what I want to find with it. This is what I'm looking for. This is the gameplay pattern I have. For context, the day we're recording this, the first episode of the Scarlet Keys current quest came up, which is you're playing Charlie Kane, I'm playing Skids.
mhm.
For context, we recorded that episode on August 18th. I checked it out.
Oh my god.
And the day is October 27th. So we work far ahead on our channels. Like we try to build a backlog, so we if we ever have to like miss a week or anything like that,
Mhm.
it's fine. But we've been playing that campaign on and off. Like that one has been like the biggest gaps between everything else that we've ever done for that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And while it's still nice to enjoy those decks, it comes to those moments where you're like, oh yeah, this is like Katana. I'm playing this Katana here. I have these things to make it better. What do I look for to make this like pop off with the best? But when you play it all in one sitting, already know. You're like, this is I need this before this, so I'm going to prioritize this for either my mulligan or
Yeah.
how I'm playing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
The
So
mulligan
there's like
especially. Yeah.
there's like a different like understanding and even like enjoyment that comes with playing bigger sessions with your deck.
Yeah. I wonder what most people do. Most people's probably a bad word, but like I know there's some groups that play like once a week, some that play every 2 weeks, maybe once a month even. And for people who have that, or maybe multiple groups, what's the usual process? How long does it take them to remember how to play the deck, so to speak? I don't think your deck necessarily is that way because I don't know, find Runic Axe, play Runic Axe.
Yeah.
I know it's
Yeah.
more complicated than that, but you know what I mean. Like there's some intricacies for the more complicated investigators that you might need to
Yes.
get more used to. And some scenarios don't give you a couple of rounds to be like, remember how to play the game?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. So there's something nice about sitting with the deck the whole time. But I will also say, now that we're done with it, it's a little bit sad because now you don't get to go play the deck again.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's very true. It's just like this deck's done. This is a finished deck.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that enjoyment of playing, sometimes it gives you something to look forward to every week where you're saying, cool, we get to go play Charlie again on Monday. And
Mhm.
that's not the case here. So, of course, we can replay these concepts, a different investigator or the same investigator if you ever want to, but it's not quite the same. There's always something sad about finishing up a campaign and saying goodbye to a deck. And to have all of that compressed into one day in which we are exhausted afterwards, it's something, I'll tell you.
Yep. Yep.
All right. Last thing I wanted to bring up was just any other surprises or moments you thought about because of variants that you maybe expected one thing going into the day and then you got something else or something you didn't expect that happened.
I mean, I think a big thing for me was I wasn't expecting ancient power to be as relevant as it was. Like
Hmm.
I knew it was going to be good, But like to me, my peak for good was like moving 3 times with the hunt,
Right.
right? Uh, but I was also worried that then following up that it would be I would have a lot of problem with the charges, and I
Mm.
had to be smarter with my charges. But it turns out the B Cop and Zoe's Cross actually worked very well together to make it work like really nicely. Another thing I learned is that I've really started to appreciate it when this is going to go back to Justin beating the dead horse again. But when you have so much experience in your economy,
Hmm.
it makes your opening hands feel very good. There was a time with chat when that I was freaking out about my hand because I had 18 experience in my opening hand, and then I played a card and drew a card, and the number stayed at 18. Right. Um, and like, well, what we talked about in a recent list video, that level zero cards are very strong, right? And that, like, you should still play level zero cards. If we look at my level zero cards here, I think that I mean, there's not many left right now, right? But that's just the nature of down the rabbit hole. But like shortcuts, scene of the crime, spectral razor, um, vicious blow, even level zero vicious blow, level zero take the initiative.
Hmm.
These aren't cards that like help me win the game per se,
Hmm.
right? They're not like my game plan, but the majority of my cards, if you look at like the experience, they just kind of help the deck either survive or make my deck more consistent. And those are what I'm looking for in my mulligans, right? Like if I can put in a high experience event that's kind of neat, but like doesn't like do too much, that doesn't like help me round up my deck. It was an interesting kind of like shift I had where I felt like I was like, yes, I feel good about how I always say put your experience into economy because it
Hmm.
makes your starts that much more explosive, which in in turn make your the rest of the scenario a lot smoother.
So I also had a feeling at the end of the campaign that the cards I had were like, oh, these are good cards now. That at the beginning, less so. Of course, again, my hand got nuked at some point, but the pickpocketing was really nice to have early.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yep.
and Lucky Cigarette Case was something I was just looking for because I feel like I could just get some draw, right? I think I had that every single scenario except for maybe the first one.
Mm-hmm.
It was very strong. But other than that, like the level zero cards that are left here, I mean, there's the Contemplative, there's Gregory, there's the Fine Clothes, of course. I'm never getting rid of those. Um,
Yep. But it's kind of like the same thing where like they are like, but they're not the things that make your deck go, but they're the things that just like support winning the game,
mhm.
right? Like support the game plan. But like if you look at our decks, we actually have a very similar thing. Like you have your 8 XP and your fake credentials,
Yeah,
which
that's.
are very important and you want them. But then like Easy Mark, Lucky Cigarette Case, Hot Streak, right?
Mhm.
That's like I mean even like I mean Grizzled's a little bit different than this, but I think we were both very impressed with Grizzled. But like even your pickpocket and your streetwise, these are things that like kind of just help you be more consistent as opposed to um I don't know. I don't really know the words for it, but it just felt like you see this. It's like a lot of economy and like card selection to here.
Mhm.
And the level zero cards are strong enough that we're happy to find them with our card selection
Yeah,
and pay for them with our economy, right?
exactly. This I mentioned this earlier. I was thinking in my upgrades potentially. Well, okay. So for rogues, if you're doing the whole fake credentials thing, the difficulty of the test is usually zero. It gets up a little bit higher, but it's not that much higher because if you fail, you just play this thing again. We talked about that before. But if I didn't have that out, how was I getting clues, right? I needed to do some basic investigate sometimes, or I used Beguile to do also basic investigates. And Rogue doesn't really have a great way of increasing your intellect specifically, other than Streetwise. I could have gone Lola Santiago. I kind of just avoided that because I didn't want to put in 6 XP into that. I mean, I probably should have if I wanted to win harder, but I didn't. Anyway, there's really nothing else. Like, what are rogues going to do? They either get some more generic skill test boosts, like a well connected. Uh, High roller was another consideration. Would have been pretty decent in the deck too.
Yep.
or you have to pump your money into Streetwise. And it was kind of bad out there where I found, so one of my surprises was that this Fox mask, and maybe this could be me misplaying in Ironman, but this did not recharge nearly enough.
I think it's Alessandra is probably actually a not a great user of Fox Mask. I think that's what it comes down to,
Hmm.
because she either wants to stay with the enemies or like she wants the enemies to move with her,
Right.
right? So they're like strung along, or where's the party already engaged to her.
Yeah, and I even got rid of the string alongs because I thought they were too expensive. Not
Yeah.
because I thought that they were bad, but I thought my card draw was fine already. But this card, I dumped one copy. I mean, even though it was very good in the first scenario because I had like nothing else,
Mhm.
um, I struggled to replace this +2 to your investigations. I even thought about Treasure Hunter at some point. I thought that could have been just another thing to throw into the deck, um, being cheap and would pay off over some number of rounds. But I think I needed the Streetwise. I feel like I wasn't able to pass tests very easily otherwise. So that was kind of a surprise that this didn't do enough over the course of the campaign. And to me, Carcosa has an excellent difficulty curve.
Mhm.
It
Yep.
really does. In fact, when I look at more recent campaigns, those struggle to match up to what Carcosa is doing. It's the extra weaknesses. If you
Mhm.
think about other campaigns, they don't give you extra weaknesses that often. Sometimes
Mhm.
they do as like a story choice. So, for example, in or a penalty for failing. So in Drowned City, there's a couple of weaknesses you can get, but you have to either fail scenarios or be picking a particular task.
Mhm.
But that's basically it. That's, in my opinion, not going to scale with the difficulty of the campaign well enough with what our decks could do. The
Mhm.
treacheries were pretty brutal in Black Star's Rise, and not quite as bad in Dim Carcosa, but they can be. And that -5 token is also pretty big because it changes that bottom end.
Yes.
Even Forgotten Age that starts with 1 in standard is a lot of zeros, right?
Yep.
Carcosa does not. It's got an extra skull instead.
I yeah, I think that like the modern Arkham is less, it less wants to like disrupt your game plan, right?
Hmm.
Than what Carcosa is. Carcosa is all about disruption. And uh that's a fun way to make it difficult while still giving you a chance to fight against it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean,
Yeah.
but think about even Innsmouth, right? You could put an extra +1 in the bag if you are doing things well, right? I
Yes.
don't think there's
Yeah.
any benefit in Carcosa for you doing well,
No, I mean you get a obsidian class for one of them, right? Like you're like the black onyx, like
right?
the classy black onyx, right? Like you
Yeah.
get like a weakness if you follow the easier path, in my opinion,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm. So, that kind of, I don't want to say it surprised me because I mean, I know this about the campaign. We talked about it a bit for videos in your Carcosa week. But I think I was more impressed with the design where at one point in chat, they said, maybe you guys should play on hard now. And that was scenario 5, which is just an easier scenario anyway. It's meant to be
Mhm.
because of potentially you reset your decks there.
Yep.
Um, but we were like, no, well, A, Iron Man itself is a challenge, but
Yeah.
B, the campaign can, and in my opinion, should fight back a little bit. And this campaign does a very good job of it, such that our scenarios 6 and 7 were not a walk in the park at all. Even though we did well,
Yep.
we got out of the campaign with a win, of course. I won't say that it was just a walk in the park at all.
Mhm. Yep. I agree.
And that was a little bit of a surprise just to sort of see that in action, especially since there were some scenarios we crushed and some that were were harder.
Yeah.
Then that's just variance in the game anyway. Like I think that's something you and I are both aware of. Like imagine if I hadn't drawn the 2 corrosions that whiffed.
Yes, and like if I got both of them like
Hmm.
back to back, like if
Yeah.
that was me instead, that would have changed things up completely. It would have been a very angry rest of the stream for Justin.
You might have been playing Nathaniel Cho. I might have been
Yeah.
still alive. I don't know.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, and that's why I think it's very important to not judge the difficulty of something based on one play
mm-mm.
of something or like one situation. because I've had Phantoms of Truths where people have been bogged down by Byakis and can never get like a breath above like a breath of air because they're just drowning in those enemies, and the organist is like bearing down on them, dealing 3 horror to somebody,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
Like it can happen. We just had like the perfect storm of being able to take advantage of it there, and yeah, Safeguard was kind of the big reason for
Are
that.
you a believer now?
No, no. I mean, I think like when the right time comes, but I think like in this situation, it made so much sense because you wanted enemies, I wanted enemies, and we were like destined to be together because of that. But like, say for example, if I was, I don't know, Ashcan Pete.
Right.
I mean, he can't play upgraded safeguard. So let me find a better example.
I mean, he could play level 0 and then ready it by discarding a card.
Yes, yeah. Um, but I mean, like, if I was Nathaniel Cho, right?
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't be freaking around with a safeguard. I would just be like going to punch things myself, or like I wouldn't be worried about getting clues at all, right? So
Right.
like I would be that kind of thing. Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, you had other movement tech too, but this made that scenario in particular a lot easier since
yeah,
we were doing the world tour and we were staying so far ahead of the enemies. You know, every investigator and every investigator team, I think, is going to have their strengths and weaknesses each scenario.
yep,
Yes, there are some more overpowered ones than otherwise, but it's a good thing to have a variety in a campaign so that some things shine and some things are going to be less useful. But this made sense for what we were trying to do for sure.
yeah, yeah. And for people who say I'm not saying Safeguard 2 is bad, I think it's a very good card. But if you haven't picked it up by now, I'm very much a find the best fit as opposed to just find what's like what you always play.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like I think it was the perfect fit here. I mean, you see the video where I put it in because I was like, this is going to be really good here. But
It's
just
good.
further context, I'm not saying Safeguard 2 is bad because I know someone would be like, what the hell?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, so some people would say like you need a reason not to play this, and you're on the other side of the fence. You need a reason to play it, and then you'll do it.
Yep, yep,
Um, I yeah, I mean, I like the level 0 one because it feels pretty free for movement for me. But in the case of what level 2 was doing for the deck, it was doing way more than just a free
yeah.
move.
It was you move in, and then you can parlay with the enemy without having to engage the enemy.
Hmm.
Then I can kill the enemy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that's about all I wanted to talk about. This was
Mhm.
really a fun day, and I'm glad to. This morning I was just like dead to the world a bit, but
Yeah.
now having talked about this and kind of conjure up some memories again, was a good time chatting about this with you because I wouldn't say like I learned a lot, but I had a fun time and it was nice to show off some things that I had never done before just to sort of see what they're
Mhm.
like. Yes, if you look at this deck and watch the gameplay, we can we both agree on this, but like does the deck work without Lucky Cigarette Case? Does any deck work without Lucky Cigarette Case?
It
Eh,
does, but it becomes better with it. Yeah,
yeah,
it just becomes better with it. Yeah.
it just does so much. I like how even with this difficulty 0 parlay stuff, it makes that card even just that much better.
Yes. Yep.
Um, but yeah, I had a fun time. I would do this again. We should probably close by saying, no, we're not planning on doing Forgotten Age Iron Man, but no, we're not doing Forgotten Age Iron Man.
Yeah. We don't know. There's no plans to do this forever. There's no guarantee it's going to happen, but who knows? Maybe 24 hours before or 3 days before, there's
Yep.
going to be a video or a post about it saying, hey, it's happening. But we're not guaranteeing anything. Just keep that in mind.
Yeah. I mean, this campaign is fun enough, Carcosa, that I was happy to do this twice within about a month.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can tell you after playing Edge of the Earth Iron Man in person last year, I thought I was done playing Iron Mans.
Yeah.
And now I've done 3
Yeah.
this year.
Yeah. Yeah. I
uh,
mean, we talked about this after. The digital environment makes it a lot easier. Um, and also like you said, it's quiet, you're in the comfort of your own home, you can go get snacks. Like my wife, she opened up the fridge and she's like, why do you have 3 water bottles in here, you're going for a war? And I'm like, no, it's so I can get up, go downstairs between scenarios, grab a bottle of water, and don't need to like prep anything. And like that's a lot harder when you're at a convention. So it's very easy to do
Yeah.
in your own house. So
I mean, thank goodness this time they had a food truck on site that was very, very well attended and did a good job of getting the food out in a good amount of time. So that was good. That was a big improvement over last couple of years where you had to bring in your own stuff. But it kind of felt like this, where I had a lunch on hand, I had a nice breakfast beforehand, and then we were ready to go. Yeah, I'd totally do this again. Forgotten Age is just a bit more complicated. It's more scenarios
yeah,
as well.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, this is something I've enjoyed doing, and I hope everyone's enjoyed watching. It's been a nice community to kind of get together and watch us play um, on the 2 different days. We did it on Tuesday once, and then we did it on a Sunday.
yeah.
Um,
Funnily enough, the Tuesday one got more views, but I think that's just like work week stuff.
yeah,
But um, it was great. I mean, we don't. It could be any day of the week now if we do another one too. Roll the dice.
sure.
We'll see. Yeah.
Could be at 2 a.m. Who knows?
Who knows? Not that one.
No. Well, it might be at 2 a.m. for some people anyway. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, great. So that's about it. The video on demand is available at the time of this posting on your channel. So if you didn't watch and somehow you've watched this entire video, go and watch it now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you can tell us what you think. Because my brain at the end was kind of mush. I'm sure people who are watching had their own like favorite moments and things that they learned from the whole thing. So let us know in the comments what you thought and what was fun for you about the whole experience.
Mhm.
All right. We'll see you next time.